It's all part of us. We can all choose love. It'll lift you up if you let it in. Let the healing begin.
Well, it's been interesting in the past couple months because I've really gotten to see a lot of different perspectives on the whole compassionate touch. Working with Kate, I've gotten to go to elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools. I've gotten to hear her speak about what she does in this program and how it's affecting people, and I'm actually getting to see how it's affecting people of different ages, of different types of classrooms, different backgrounds. So it's really interesting to really look at who it can affect, how it can affect them, and how it kind of goes back and forth depending on their background and who they are as a student and who they are as a person, where they're at in development. So it's been interesting to see how it's implemented into the classroom and how it is helping people. And drawing from my own experiences too, putting myself in the kids' shoes, thinking of when I was their age, what was I doing touch-wise? So was I being friendly or was I being too rough? Was I there for a friend when they needed a helping hand? So it's been interesting putting myself in that, or in the children's shoes as well. And seeing, I think, ultimately the change as they grow up. When they're in elementary school, they're much more prone to be touching each other, whether it's in a physical, rough, violent way or just in a compassionate way. So where they're giving each other hugs or they're being there for each other. And then you kind of hit those middle school years where everyone's kind of figuring out their own selves as they're making their changes, as they're both physically and mentally maturing. And there's a lot of questions there, so there's not as much going on. But then when you get to high school, people start to really recognize who they are, what they want, and their needs. And I think you can see a lot more touch implemented there. So I think it's kind of, you go from not knowing anything and doing everything to not knowing anything and not doing anything. And then once you get things figured out, you're kind of able to push yourself in the direction that you want to go to based on your comforts and your needs. As horrific as the events in the past years have been with the school violence and school shootings, I think there's a lot to take away from it. And I think there's a lot of lessons that can be learned, not just from a security sense. And one thing I really love about this program is it doesn't look at what's happening just now. They look all the way back to when these people are children. And you start to really realize how crucial proper development is. And within that, how important touch is. To feel loved as a child. Like, I come from a very well-bonded and privileged home, so I'm really grateful to have had the constant support from my parents. My mom will give me a hug if I need a hug. Like, they give me what I need, and I'm really grateful of that. And to not have that, I think it's been very clear these past few years how that can affect somebody. Because if you don't have that proper development in the early stages, it's just a downhill spiral from there. So you look at a lot of the mental issues that school shooters have, and I think a lot of that isn't just because they're a crazy person, it's because it's not necessarily that they've always been a crazy person or that they've struggled with certain things. It's because of the way they were raised. It's because they didn't have the proper support and development. And I think if you really dive into all that, you can fix the problem before it happens, or before there is one. If kids in the classroom, if they're not getting it at home, if they can receive that support and that care and compassion and touch in a classroom, because that's where you will always be. You will always have someone there in a classroom. If your parents aren't home, they're not around, you can look towards school and you can really find someone to help you through the difficult times. So I think within schools, I think the care and the compassionate touch is extremely important because a lot of kids aren't getting that at home. And I think that can ultimately solve a lot of problems.
It's all part of us. us. We can all choose love. It'll lift you up if you let